Hello, friends. I am Reverend John McLean, and it is my extreme pleasure to be the minister of record with you all there at Unity of Verde Valley. I do so appreciate the times I get to be there with you in person, and I'll be there again, I guess, probably in 3 weeks after you see this video. But good morning to you, and know that it is always a real honor and a pleasure for me to share with you. When we agreed that I would offer video messages in addition to being there in person, I decided it would be a good idea, probably a reasonable idea anyway, to have the video talks be based on a series of one thing or another. And because it's something that, frankly, I hadn't visited in a while, that happens to all of us, that I thought might be good for me to take another look at the 12 powers as they were articulated by Charles Fillmore. Now, these 12 powers, we began last week by talking about faith as one of the 12 powers of man, gifts from God, as it were. And I like to think of them as capacities in consciousness, a capacity that we have, and a capacity that we can develop over time if we work on it. And that's what we're here to do, individually, in class, and together on Sundays. But the 12 powers are always worth repeating. They are faith, strength, judgment, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, renunciation, and life itself. Charles Fillmore, who did magnificent work, wanted unity to be seen as practical Christianity. Not that anything necessarily is impractical, but to offer us a way of working life's everyday and largest ongoing lifelong challenges of understanding our place on this earth and how to grow in creativity, graciousness, and effectiveness. And so he came up with a way of working. One of them is prayer, of course, and another is the 12 powers. Remembering in times of challenge that we have capacities within us that we can bring to bear on any situation and in time expect a positive result. I like the expression way of working. A way of working really is simply a blueprint that we refer to in responding to life's challenges. A builder will look at a blueprint that an architect has drawn, but it is the builder who looks at the blueprint when they have a question. What goes here? What needs to happen next? What needs to happen first in the building, in the creation of this new thing? And the 12 powers offers us a way of working, which I think is just splendid. Again, last month we spoke about faith. Today I'm going to speak about strength. When we talk about strength, we don't mean brute physical strength. We don't mean mechanical strength of any kind because, I learned a while ago that there ain't no heavy lifting involved in doing most of life's important things. It's not about heavy lifting. It's about consistency. It's about patience. It's about poise. Now, the author of the book that I've been referring to, How to Use Your Gifts from God, he writes this about strength. He says, "Strength is my ability to be patient, tolerant, steadfast, and balanced. Strength draws inner peace and stillness into my life. Strength allows me to achieve balance between my thoughts and actions." Wow. Those are all things to be hoped for. They really are. I'm going to read them again because they're good. Strength is my ability to be patient, tolerant, steadfast, and balanced. And if it's my ability, it means I have chosen that at any moment I can choose to be tolerant instead of intolerant, to be balanced instead of chaotic. That choice is up to me and you. Strength draws inner peace and stillness into my life. Well, I might like to say, strength allows me to release peace and stillness into my life. Strength allows me to release it into a situation, to be, as we in ministry say, the non-anxious presence in a meeting, around the dinner table, in a hospital room. Strength allows me to be poised, to be fully present for what is taking place. And finally, strength allows me to achieve balance between my thoughts and reactions. That requires a certain amount of objectivity and integrity. Yes? Strength allows me to achieve balance between my thoughts and actions. I need to be objective enough to know, are my actions in deep accord with my thoughts? If I'm thinking chaos and acting crazy, then I guess they are, but that's not the kind of consistency we're looking for. We're looking for, if I think that generosity of spirit is required here, in this situation with whatever's going on, then am I acting in a generous and a permission-giving way? Again, these teachings are so simple, and yet they take a lifetime to cultivate, don't they? A lifetime. And, I'm not being facetious when I say, once you know that, you go, great, I'll start working on it right now. There's no deadline. There's no hurry. That these are all spiritual aspects of our own consciousness that we get to work on. That's why we're incarnated on this planet at this time. I can think of times in my life when I lacked strength, when I was not patient, when I was not steadfast, when I did not release peace into my environment, but probably spewed chaos into my environment or resentment. I can think of times in my life where my actions were not in accord with what I said were my deepest values. Most of those things which I'm embarrassed about and can recall, and I really don't need to share them because I'm sure you have horror stories of your own. But most of them occurred probably before I was 30, somewhere around there. Mid-30s is when I came into New Thought teaching and began to be serious about making a noble effort of being a grown-up, not blaming other people for whatever was going on in my life, and releasing the continuous and ongoing process of releasing feelings of victimhood. I know that you can think of times in your younger life when maybe you did not display strength. And that's okay. That really is okay. If we're not learning, though, and we're not growing, well, we're missing an opportunity. And if we don't get better at being fully present to life, we're probably going to be experiencing, or we're probably going to have the opportunity to keep revisiting the same kind of nightmare that's working your last nerve. It's going to be happening again and again and again and again. And like, have you ever said, why is this always happening to me? Because it's a lesson that I need to learn, is why it's happening to me. It's for me to get and solve. And when I assume that kind of responsibility for my mind, for my life, when I assume the responsibility of pausing and asking myself, are my actions in accord with my professed beliefs? And if the answer is not heck yes, then it's like, okay, great, I have the ability to do something about it. I have the ability to make another choice, because that is a part of my way of working. If I am not contributing to the greater good of my situation, my life, my behavior, then I'm going to make another choice. I'm going to come up with a different way of working, a different blueprint of being in the world. So I know that I've got something to rely on, to take a look at, to go back to, which will pretty reliably tell me my next best step is A, B, or C. And you know, it truly does take quite a while to become as effective as we want to be, as well as being a life-enhancing presence in the world around us. And you know, the key to this takes a great deal of practice. The late Ruth Bader Ginsburg left us a wonderful quotation, in that she wrote, "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. Not so easy. Not so easy. Because when we're little especially, good behavior, good modeling is not that easy to see. And so the things that we remember aren't the most helpful when we become an adult. When one is dealing with a 2-year-old, one is often fatigued enough to say, would you please do it? Why? Because I'm the boss. I said so. Just do it. Now, that kind of thing really doesn't work with grown-ups. And yet there is a lot of behavior like that in the working world. I mean, I've seen it, right? This is what we do in this office. If you don't like it, leave. Well, we're not getting good modeling on a better way to do it. That's not a blueprint that's really going to help most of us. The blueprint that's going to help most of us is to find that way to fight for what you believe in a nonviolent way. To argue for what you believe in a reasonable way. That seems like an oxymoron, doesn't it? How can you fight in a nonviolent way? And yet you can. Mahatma Gandhi certainly fought the good fight in a nonviolent way. But it took a phenomenal amount of tenacity, of strength, of persistence. I'm going to look again at this. For those that achieved anything in life in a nonviolent way, it takes a lot of patience, tolerance, steadfastness, balance, bringing inner peace into chaotic situations, and balance between thoughts and actions. I truly believe that every one of us wants to be like that. And there's that of us that always wants to have everything be our way, of course. I get that. But the grown-up knows that that's not always the case. That's not always the case. And what a flat and colorless world it would be. I invite you to revisit. If you want conflicts, when did a relationship go south? When did things stop working out well in the office? Things like that. You can revisit that in your mind, and in retrospect, you will see that perhaps you could have made another choice. There might be something going on right now where you are fiercely resisting reality. And when we resist reality, how's that working for you? And the answer is always going to be not so good. Not so good. We have strength enough, yes, strength enough to fight for the things that are important, to be present for the responsibilities we have signed up for, and to take them to a logical conclusion. There is strength enough. One of the teachings of Charles Fillmore's that I love is that he said there is time enough, faith enough, strength enough, and enthusiasm enough to do all those things that ought to be done by me. This is worth repeating. There is time enough, faith enough, strength enough, and enthusiasm enough to do all those things that ought to be done by me. And you might say, friend, that is impossible. And I might say to you, it's only impossible when you're spending time and energy in other people's business. To learn to discern what is yours to do and what is not is one of the great gifts of growing in wisdom. And when you know that, in fact, there is time enough, faith enough, strength enough, and enthusiasm enough to get all those things that ought to be done by you. I can prove it to you because the day before you go on vacation, you get more done in that one day than you do in the 30 days before that. I guarantee you, because I know that's true for me. If it's true for me, it's true for you. So when it's stuff that you need to get done, you can get it all done in a day. We all can. And that's because we're minding our own business. These 12 powers offer us an elegant and a profound way of working life's most complex issues, as well as being a presence in the midst of those issues that contributes to the greater unfolding of good for everybody. And what a fulfillment that is. That is.